Commander Hyun stood on the observation deck of the Coalition station, staring at the stars beyond Valara Prime. The peaceful trade world below glowed soft blue in the darkness of space. He had been stationed here for 6 months now, representing Earth's military interests in this corner of the galaxy. Most days were quiet. Too quiet for a soldier like him. His communicator buzzed. It was Nari, the communications officer. Commander, we're picking up multiple contacts on the edge of the system. They're not responding to hails. Hyun's stomach tightened. How many? 30. No, 50 ships. Sir, the number keeps growing. He ran to the command center. The room buzzed with activity as alien officers moved between stations. Station Commander Velthar stood in the center, his 4 eyes fixed on the main display. The Valerian looked calm, but his skin had turned a deep purple, a sign of stress in his species. Commander Hyun, Velthar said, we have a problem. The display showed hundreds of red dots surrounding the system. They were moving in perfect formation, closing in on Valara Prime like a tightening noose. Krethians, one officer whispered. The word spread through the room like poison. Hyun had read about the Krethian swarm in Earth's intelligence reports. They were raiders who swept through systems, taking everything and leaving nothing behind. No one had ever successfully fought them off. Most species just ran. Send a distress call to all Coalition forces, Velthar ordered. Tell them we need immediate assistance. Nari's fingers flew across her console. Signal sent on all channels. Nearest Coalition fleet is 72 hours away. We don't have 72 hours, Velthar said quietly. The first wave of Krethian ships hit the station's outer defenses. Explosions lit up the view screen. The station shook, and emergency lights flickered on. Ambassador Taeyong burst into the command center. The diplomatic liaison from Earth looked out of place in his formal clothes among the military personnel. But his eyes were sharp and focused. I heard the alert, Taeyong said. How bad is it? Very bad, Hyun replied. We're outnumbered at least 20-1. Taeyong pulled out his personal communicator. Then I'm calling Earth. Velthar's head swiveled toward him. Earth? Ambassador, with respect, your world only joined the Coalition 3 months ago. You don't have the resources to— Let me make the call, Taeyong interrupted. Please. The station shook again. Harder this time. Velthar nodded. Taeyong spoke quickly into his device, his voice urgent but controlled. Hyun couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, but he watched the ambassador's face carefully. After 2 minutes, Taeyong lowered the communicator. Earth is sending help, he said. How long? Velthar asked. 36 hours. The Valerian's skin turned even darker. That's actually faster than any Coalition response time. But Ambassador, your species is new to space warfare. The Krethians are— I know what they are, Taeyong said. And I know what humans are. Trust me on this. Another explosion rocked the station. Sparks flew from a damaged console. Nari called out, Shields at 60%. They're hitting us with everything. Hyun moved to a tactical station and pulled up the defense grid. The Krethian ships were everywhere, swarming like insects. Their tactics were simple but effective. Overwhelm the enemy with numbers and never stop attacking. We can hold for maybe 48 hours if we're lucky, Hyun said. But we'll take heavy damage. Then we hold, Velthar said firmly. He opened a station-wide channel. All personnel, this is Commander Velthar. We are under attack by Krethian forces. Coalition reinforcements are en route. Our job is to survive until they arrive. Defend this station and protect Valara Prime. That is all. The next day was hell. Krethian ships attacked in waves, never giving the defenders a moment to rest. The station's weapons fired constantly, heating up until they needed emergency cooling. Fighter squadrons launched to intercept the enemy, but many didn't return. Hyun barely slept. He coordinated defense efforts, moving personnel where they were needed most. Nari stayed at her post for 20 hours straight, managing communications and keeping track of every Coalition ship in the area. On the second day, things got worse. A Krethian boarding party breached the lower decks. Hyun led a security team to push them back. The fighting was brutal and close. The Krethians were strong, their armored bodies resistant to most weapons. But Hyun and his team fought with desperate determination. They sealed off the breach section, but not before losing 12 people. Vilthar watched Hyun return to the command center, covered in burns and blood. "You fought them hand to hand?" the Valerian asked, shocked. "Had to," Hyun said simply. "They got past our guns. Most species would have retreated. Hand-to-hand combat is considered uncivilized." Hyun wiped blood from his face. "Where I come from, we do what's necessary." Velthar studied the human carefully. Perhaps Earth's classification as a death world meant more than he had realized. By hour 34, the station was failing. Shields were down to 15%. Half the weapons were offline. Fires burned in 3 different sections. The medical bay overflowed with wounded. Valara Prime's orbital defenses had been destroyed. The planet itself would be next. Nari looked up from her console, her face pale. "Sir, I'm detecting new slip space signatures. Multiple contacts emerging at the system edge." Everyone froze. More Krethians? They couldn't handle more. "Identification?" Velthar asked. Nari's eyes widened. It's the Earth fleet. 3 ships, battlecruiser class and support vessels." "Only 3 ships?" one officer muttered. "Against hundreds?" Taiyang stepped forward, a slight smile on his face. "Just watch." The view screen shifted to show the approaching human vessels. They were different from coalition ships, darker, more angular, built for war rather than exploration. The lead ship broadcast a message. "This is Captain Jaiwan of the EDS Indomitable to Coalition Station Valara. We received your distress call. Permission to engage hostile forces?" Velthar looked at the overwhelming Krethian fleet, then at the 3 human ships. It was madness. But he had no choice. "Permission granted, Captain, and thank you." "Don't thank us yet," Jiwan replied. "Just stay out of our way. All ships, weapons hot. Let's show these raiders what Earth is made of." The human ships accelerated toward the Krethian swarm at impossible speeds. Officers in the command center watched in stunned silence as Earth's Deathworlders charged into battle. The real fight was about to begin. Captain Jiwan walked through the corridors of the EDS Indomitable with quick, confident steps. The battlecruiser hummed with energy as the crew prepared for combat. He had received the distress call from Valara Prime just 18 hours ago. Most fleets would still be gathering supplies. Earth's response force was already halfway to the battle. The bridge doors opened with a soft hiss. His crew stood at their stations, focused and ready. Lieutenant Yuna looked up from the weapons console, her dark eyes sharp. "Captain on deck," she announced. "At ease," G1 said. "Status report." "We'll reach Valara Prime in 16 hours, Yuna replied. "All weapon systems are online and ready. I've programmed targeting solutions based on the Krethian tactical data the Coalition sent us." Jiwan nodded. "Good. What about the rest of the fleet?" "The destroyer Typhoon and the support carrier Horizon are keeping pace. All ships report ready for combat." Jiwan pulled up a holographic display of the Valara system. Hundreds of red markers showed Krethian positions. It looked impossible. But he had trained for impossible situations his entire life. The door opened again. Sergeant Minho entered, his combat armor making soft mechanical sounds as he moved. The Marine commander's face was hard and focused. "Captain, my teams are ready. We've studied the Krethian ship layouts. If you need us to board, we can do it." "I hope it doesn't come to that," Jiwan said. But he knew it probably would. "How many Marines do we have ready?" 200 across all 3 ships. We've trained for boarding actions, zero-gravity combat, and close-quarters fighting. The Coalition data says Krethians are tough, but we're tougher." Jiwan smiled slightly. That was the spirit that made Earth dangerous. Humans didn't back down just because the enemy looked scary. Dr. Hana arrived last, carrying a medical tablet. The chief medical officer looked calm despite the upcoming battle. "Medical bay is ready, Captain," she reported. "I've prepared for mass casualties. I also reviewed Creathian physiology in case we capture any wounded. Expecting prisoners? Jiwan asked. Expecting everything, Hana replied. That's how we survive. The captain gathered his senior officers around the holographic display. Listen carefully. The Coalition thinks we're crazy for charging into this fight with only 3 ships. They don't understand what Earth is. What we are. He zoomed in on the Creathian formation. They fight with numbers and aggression. Wave tactics. Overwhelming force. It works against species that evolved on peaceful worlds. But we didn't. Yuna studied the display. Their formation has weak points. Here, here, and here. She marked 3 locations. If we hit them fast and hard at these positions, we can break their coordination. That's suicide, one junior officer said quietly. We'd be surrounded. Only if we stay in one place, Yuna replied. We keep moving, strike, and fade. Never let them pin us down. Jiwan looked at his crew. Earth fought wars for thousands of years before we reached the stars. We learned hard lessons. The Coalition species? Most of them have been peaceful for centuries. They forgot how to fight. We never did. He turned to Minho. Your Marines ready for hell? Born ready, sir. Dr. Hana, can your medical team handle what's coming? We've handled worse on Earth, Captain. Plague zones, disaster areas, war zones. This is just another day. The confidence in the room was almost physical. These weren't people hoping to survive. They were people planning to win. Over the next several hours, Jiwan drilled his crew relentlessly. Yuna ran combat simulations, adjusting strategies based on real-time data from Valara Prime. The news from the station wasn't good. Shields failing, weapons damaged, casualties mounting. But they were still fighting. Minho gathered his Marines in the cargo bay. The soldiers checked their weapons and armor with practiced efficiency. Each Marine carried enough firepower to take down a small building. In space, that would have to be enough against the Creathians. Remember your training, Minho told them. Creathians are strong and armored. Aim for joints and weak points. Work in teams. Watch each other's backs. And if you get hurt, don't stop fighting until you physically can't continue. One young Marine raised her hand. It was Corporal Suman, a combat medic. Sir, Coalition reports say humans shouldn't engage Creathians in close combat. They say it's too dangerous. Minho grinned. Coalition species break bones easily. They pass out from blood loss quickly. They go into shock from injuries we'd walk off. We're different. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Show these Creathians what that means. The Marines cheered. They weren't afraid. They were eager. In the medical bay, Dr. Hana briefed her team. Creathian weapons use plasma-based technology. Expect burns, severe ones. Human tolerance for pain is higher than most species, so our wounded might seem fine even with serious injuries. Check everyone carefully. She pulled up data on Coalition species physiology. If we treat aliens, remember their limits are different. What's a minor injury to us might be fatal to them. And they'll be shocked by what our people can survive. Engineer Kiwan worked in the ship's reactor room, making final adjustments. The Indomitable's engines ran hotter than Coalition safety standards allowed. Human ships pushed limits that others considered too dangerous. But that extra power meant extra speed, extra maneuverability, extra weapon capacity. Sir, a technician said nervously, if we push the reactors any harder, we'll exceed safe radiation levels. Kiwan checked his readings. Define safe. Coalition safe or human safe? Coalition standards, sir. Then we're fine. Humans can handle more radiation than most species. Keep pushing. Back on the bridge, Jiwan received another transmission from Valara Prime. Commander Hyun's face appeared on screen. The human officer looked exhausted and injured, but his eyes were fierce. Captain Jiwan, the situation here is critical. Station shields are almost gone. How far out are you? 14 hours, Jiwan replied. Can you hold that long? We'll hold if it kills us. It won't. We're coming, Commander. Earth doesn't abandon its people or its allies. Hyun smiled grimly. Give them hell, Captain. The transmission ended. Yuna looked at Jiwan. 14 hours is a long time, sir. They might not make it. Then we get there in 12, Jiwon said. He opened a channel to engineering. Kiwon, I need more speed. Already on it, Captain. Pushing the reactors to 120%. We'll get there faster. 120%? That's against regulations, I know. But we're not here to follow the rules. We're here to win. Jiwon sat in his command chair and watched the stars stream past. Somewhere ahead, people were dying. Humans and aliens alike. Fighting a desperate battle against impossible odds. But help was coming. Earth was coming. And the Krethian swarm was about to learn a hard lesson. Humans from Earth didn't know how to quit. They only knew how to fight. The 3 Earth ships dropped out of slipspace like sharks entering bloody water. The Indomitable led the formation, flanked by the destroyer Typhoon and the carrier Horizon. They didn't slow down. They didn't hesitate. They accelerated straight toward the Krethian swarm. On the Coalition station, every screen showed the approaching battle. Velthar stood frozen, watching the human ships charge forward. Around him, alien officers muttered in disbelief. "They're going to die," one whispered. Commander Hyun said nothing. He just watched and hoped. Captain Jiwon stood on his bridge, calm as still water. Yuna. Target the lead Krethian formation, pattern Delta 7. Pattern Delta 7 confirmed, Yuna replied, her fingers dancing across the weapons console. Firing solution locked. The Indomitable's main guns opened fire. Brilliant streaks of plasma cut through space, hitting 3 Krethian ships in rapid succession. The enemy vessels exploded in balls of fire. The human battlecruiser didn't slow down. It dove deeper into the enemy formation. Evasive pattern Gamma, Jiwon ordered. Keep them guessing. The ship twisted and turned in ways that would have torn apart most coalition vessels. The crew worked smoothly despite the violent maneuvers. Years of training in Earth's harsh gravity made them stronger, faster, more resilient than most spacefaring species. Krethian ships swarmed around the Indomitable, firing from all directions. Weapons fire lit up space like a deadly light show, but the human ship kept moving, never staying still long enough to be an easy target. Shields at 70%, Yuna reported. They're hitting us hard, but we're hitting harder. The destroyer Typhoon broke formation, accelerating toward a cluster of Krethian cruisers. On Valera Station, officers watched in horror as the human ship appeared to be on a collision course. "They're going to ram!" someone shouted. But at the last second, Typhoon rolled sharply, presenting its armored belly to the enemy. Its weapons fired at point-blank range, ripping through 3 Krethian ships before it spun away into clear space. "Crazy humans," Velthar muttered. But there was respect in his voice now. Pilot Junho led his fighter squadron away from the carrier Horizon. 12 small craft against hundreds of enemy ships. The odds didn't seem to bother him. "Wolf Squadron, follow my lead," Junho said calmly. "Attack pattern Echo, fast and aggressive." The fighters dove into the Krethian formation like hawks attacking pigeons. They moved at speeds that would knock most pilots unconscious. Human bodies, evolved in Earth's strong gravity, could handle forces that would kill frailer species. Junho's targeting computer locked onto a Krethian frigate. He fired a missile, then immediately rolled away from return fire. The missile struck home, and the frigate broke apart. "2 more on your 6, Junho," another pilot called out. "I see them. Watch this." Junho cut his engines completely and flipped his fighter backward. For a moment, he flew backward at full speed. His weapons locked onto the pursuing Krethian ships. He fired. Both enemies exploded. Then he reignited his engines and spun back around. "Did you see that?" a coalition officer gasped. "He flew backward." "Impossible," another replied. "Tell that to the debris field," Hyun said quietly. Back on the Indomitable, Yuna tracked the overall battle. The Krethians were adapting, trying to surround the human ships. She smiled coldly. "Captain, they're trying to box us in," shifting to formation Beta 3. "Show them why that's a mistake," Jiwon replied. Instead of retreating from the closing trap, the Indomitable accelerated forward. It punched through the Krethian formation, weapons firing in all directions. Ships exploded to port and starboard. The battlecruiser's shields glowed red from impacts, but it kept moving. All ships, converge on my position, Juwan ordered. Time for a real fight. The three Earth vessels formed a tight triangle formation, their shields overlapping. They moved as one unit through the Krethian swarm, like a blade cutting through flesh. Lieutenant Yuna's targeting solutions were perfect. Every shot hit a critical system or weak point. The Coalition had been fighting the Krethians defensively, trying to survive. Humans fought offensively, trying to kill. Weapons heating up, Yuna reported. Recommend cooling cycle. Negative, Jiwan said. Keep firing. Switch to secondary systems if primary overheats. On the station, Nari pulled up human ship statistics. Her eyes widened. Commander Hyun, the human ships are operating beyond safety limits. Their reactors are running 20% over standard. Their weapons are overheating. Their shields are winning, Hyun interrupted. They're winning. It was true. The Krethian formation was breaking apart. Human tactics were too aggressive, too fast, too unpredictable. The Raiders had never faced an enemy that fought back this hard. A Krethian battleship, twice the size of the Indomitable, moved to intercept the human flagship. It fired a massive plasma cannon that could destroy a city. The beam struck the Indomitable's shields dead center. Everyone on Valara Station held their breath. The Indomitable's shields failed. Alarms blared across the bridge. Shields down, Yuna called out. Hull integrity holding, but we're exposed. Jiwan's expression didn't change. Kiwan, emergency power to forward weapons. Yuna, target that battleship's reactor. Sir, we're not going to... Someone started. We're going to kill it before it kills us. Fire! The Indomitable's main cannon fired at maximum power. The beam, brighter than a sun, struck the Krethian battleship's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive enemy ship exploded from the inside out, its reactor overloading in a cascade failure. Battleship destroyed, Yuna reported. Shields regenerating. We're still in this fight. Junho's fighter squadron cleared a path for the horizon to launch its special payload. Sergeant Minho and his Marines sat in boarding pods, ready for launch. This is insane, one Marine muttered. We're going to fly in tiny pods toward hostile ships while people shoot at us. Minho checked his weapon one last time. Welcome to the Marines. Insane is what we do. Launching in 3, 2, 1, the carrier's weapons officer announced. 20 boarding pods shot out of the horizon like bullets. They were small, fast, and shielded just enough to survive the trip. Barely. Krethian point defense weapons tried to shoot them down. Some pods exploded, their occupants lost. But most made it through, slamming into enemy hulls and burning through the armor. Inside the pods, the Marines felt the impact as they punched through Krethian ship plating. It was like being inside a car crash. Most species would have been knocked unconscious. The Marines just grabbed their weapons and prepared to fight. Minho's pod breached first. The door blew open, and he stepped into a Krethian corridor. 3 enemy soldiers stood there, shocked. Krethians were large, armored, built for combat. They had never lost a close-quarters fight. Minho shot the first one in the face joint. The second one rushed him. He dodged, letting its momentum carry it past, and shot it in the back. The third one got its claws on him, gripping tight. The sharp edges cut into his armor, drawing blood. Minho headbutted it. The impact would have cracked most species' skulls. The Krethian staggered back, surprised. Minho shot it twice. Breach point secure, he reported calmly, ignoring the blood running down his side. Moving to target the engine room. All across the battlefield, human Marines were fighting their way through Krethian ships. The close combat was brutal, but humans had evolved fighting each other on a deadly world. Hand-to-hand combat was in their blood. On Valara Station, Commander Hyun watched the tactical display in awe. The Krethian swarm, which had seemed unstoppable, was falling apart. Human ships darted through their formations. Human fighters destroyed targets with impossible precision. Human Marines captured enemy vessels from the inside. They're not just fighting, Velthar said quietly. They're hunting. Nari pulled up casualty reports. Sir, the humans have taken losses. 3 fighters down, 1 boarding pod destroyed, and the Indomitable has hull damage. But compared to what we expected, they're barely scratched, he unfinished. And the Krethians are running. It was true. The Krethian swarm was retreating, pulling back from Valara Prime. For the first time anyone could remember, they were running from a fight. Captain G1 watched them go. All ships, cease fire, let them run. Let them tell their friends what happened here. The 3 Earth ships held position, damaged but victorious. Around them floated the debris of over 60 Krethian vessels. Commander Hune opened a channel to the human fleet. Captain G1, on behalf of the Coalition and Valara Prime, thank you. You saved us. Just doing our job, Commander, G1 replied. Earth looks after its allies. Velthar stepped forward. Captain, I must apologize. I doubted your capabilities. I was wrong. No offense taken. We're used to being underestimated. The battle was over. Earth had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. Sergeant Minho moved through the Krethian ship's corridors with his team behind him. Blood dripped from the cuts on his side, but he ignored it. The wounds hurt, but pain was just information. His body was still working, so he kept fighting. Enemy contact ahead, Corporal Suman whispered. She was the team medic, but right now she held a rifle like everyone else. 5 Krethian soldiers guarded the engine room door. They were huge, covered in natural armor plating, with claws that could tear through steel. They saw the humans and charged. The Marines opened fire. 3 Krethians fell immediately. The other 2 reached the human line. One grabbed a Marine named Doyen and lifted him off the ground. Its claws dug into his armor. Doyen didn't scream. He pulled out a combat knife and stabbed the Krethian in the eye. The creature roared and threw him against the wall. Doyen hit hard enough to crack his ribs. He fell to the floor, gasped for breath, then stood up and kept fighting. Minho shot the Krethian that had grabbed Doyen. The last enemy soldier ran. The Marines let it go. Let it tell the others what happened here. Suman, check Doyen, Minho ordered. The medic scanned him quickly. 3 broken ribs, possible concussion, multiple lacerations. He needs medical attention. Can he walk? Doyen answered for himself. I'm fine, Sergeant. Let's finish this. Suman gave him an injection for the pain and wrapped his chest tight. You should be unconscious right now, she muttered. Human stubbornness is a real medical condition. They blasted open the engine room door. Inside, Krethian engineers scrambled for weapons. The fight was short and brutal. When it was over, Minho's team controlled the ship's power systems. Engine room secure, he reported to Captain G1. This ship is ours. On another captured Krethian vessel, a different Marine team faced a similar situation. The leader, a sergeant named Bora, had taken a plasma burn to her leg. The injury had melted through her armor and charred the flesh beneath. She could barely walk. She kept fighting anyway. Sergeant Bora, you need immediate evacuation, her team's medic said. After we secure this ship, Bora replied through gritted teeth. She leaned against a wall and aimed her rifle at the corridor ahead. I can still shoot. The medic knew better than to argue. He just made sure the burn was sealed and wouldn't get infected. Humans could fight through injuries that would stop most species completely. Back on the Coalition station, Dr. Hana had set up a temporary medical facility to help with the wounded. Injured personnel from both the station and the Earth ships filled the beds. She moved between them with calm efficiency. An alien doctor named Thelvan watched her work with growing amazement. He had never seen anything like it. Dr. Hana, he said carefully. That human soldier there, the one with the broken arm, he's still conscious and talking. Yes, Corporal Junho, he'll be fine. But his arm is broken in 3 places. The pain should have put him in shock. Hana glanced at the injured pilot. Humans have a high pain tolerance. We evolved that way. A broken arm is serious, but not immediately life-threatening, so his body keeps functioning. She moved to another bed where Corporal Suman lay. The medic had been shot during the engine room fight. The plasma bolt had gone through her shoulder. How are you feeling, Suman? Hana asked. Hurts like hell, ma'am, Suman replied. But I've had worse. Remember that training accident last year? When you broke your collarbone and kept working for 3 hours before reporting it? Yes, I remember. You humans are terrible patients. Suman grinned. We're just efficient, ma'am. Thelvan pulled Hana aside. Doctor, I must ask, how is she even conscious? That wound went through major muscle tissue. The blood loss alone should have… Human bodies are designed to keep working under extreme conditions, Hana explained. We clot faster than most species. Our blood pressure adjusts to compensate for loss. Our brains release chemicals that let us ignore pain and keep functioning. It's all evolutionary adaptation. From living on a death world, Thelvan said quietly. Exactly. Earth is classified as Class 9 for a reason. Everything there tries to kill you. Predators, diseases, weather, even the plants. Humans who couldn't survive terrible injuries didn't pass on their genes, so we evolved to be very, very hard to kill. A commotion at the medical bay entrance interrupted them. Sergeant Minho walked in, blood-soaked but steady. Behind him came 3 more Marines, all injured but walking on their own. Doctor, we need some patching up, Minho said casually. Hana scanned him with her medical tricorder. Her eyes widened. Sergeant, you have 11 separate wounds. You've lost almost a liter of blood. One of these cuts is infected with Crethian bacteria. And you walked here? Didn't want to waste a stretcher on something minor. Minor, Thelvan sputtered. You should be dead. Minho looked at the alien doctor with confusion. Why? Nothing vital was hit. I can still move all my limbs. Just need some stitches and antibiotics. Hana started treating him, shaking her head. Sit down before you fall down, Sergeant, and that's an order. Yes, ma'am. As she worked, more wounded arrived. Human casualties mixed with injured coalition personnel. Hana treated them all, but the contrast was striking. Alien soldiers with minor injuries were in severe distress. Human soldiers with major injuries were cracking jokes. One coalition officer had a fractured leg and was sedated for the pain. Next to him, a human marine had a similar fracture and was asking when he could return to duty. This is impossible, Thelvan muttered. Their pain tolerance, their healing rate, their psychological resilience, they just keep functioning. Engineer Kaiwan arrived at the medical bay covered in radiation burns. He had been working in the Indomitable's reactor room when a coolant leak had exposed him to dangerous levels of radiation. Doc, I need some anti-rad meds, he said. And maybe something for these burns. Hana scanned him. Kiwan, you absorbed enough radiation to kill most species. How are you walking? Shielding worked mostly, just got a bit exposed. I'll be fine in a few days, right? With treatment, yes. Most aliens wouldn't survive the first hour. Good thing I'm not most aliens. Nari came to visit the wounded. She moved between the beds, documenting everything she saw for her reports to Coalition Command. What she witnessed amazed and terrified her. She found Corporal Suman, the medic who had been shot. The young woman was sitting up in bed, reviewing medical data on a tablet. Shouldn't you be resting? Nari asked. I am resting, Suman replied. I'm not fighting or working, just studying. Want to make sure I know Crethian anatomy better in case we face them again. You were shot hours ago. Yeah, but it's already being treated. No point wasting time feeling sorry for myself. Nari moved on, taking notes. Human psychology was as impressive as their physiology. They didn't dwell on injuries. They just fixed them and moved forward. She found Commander Hyun in a corner, getting his own wounds treated. He had been injured during the boarding defense days ago, but had never stopped working. Commander, the Coalition wants a full report on human combat capabilities, Nari said. What do you want to know? How do you do it? How do humans keep fighting when you should be down? Hyun thought for a moment. Earth is a hard world. Our ancestors survived ice ages, plagues, predators, wars and disasters that would have wiped out softer species. We evolved to endure. It's not that we don't feel pain or fear. We just don't let it stop us. The Crethians are already spreading word about this battle, Nari said. They're calling humans the Deathworld Reapers. They're afraid of us. Good, Hyun replied. Fear keeps people honest. Dr. Hana finished with her current patient and addressed the medical bay. Listen up, everyone. Human or alien, you all fought well today. Get some rest. Heal. That's an order from your doctor. Around the room, Humans and aliens alike settled in. The immediate crisis was over. Valara Prime was safe, the Crethean swarm had retreated, and the galaxy had learned an important lesson. Earth's people were dangerous not because they were cruel or aggressive. They were dangerous because they simply refused to quit. No matter how bad things got, no matter how injured or outnumbered, humans kept fighting. That night, while the wounded slept, Thelvan completed his medical report. He wrote, "Human beings from Earth possess physical and psychological resilience far beyond standard parameters. They survive injuries fatal to other species. They function through pain that would incapacitate most beings. They are, in every sense, perfectly adapted survivors. Recommend, treat humans as high-priority allies. Never under any circumstances make them your enemy." He sent the report to Coalition Medical Command and hoped they would listen, because the galaxy had just seen what Deathworlders could do. And Earth had barely gotten started. 3 days after the battle, Valara Prime's orbital space was calm again. The debris had been cleared. Damaged ships had been repaired or salvaged. The Crethean swarm was gone, scattered across a dozen systems, telling stories about the humans who had broken their formation and sent them running. Captain G1 stood on the observation deck of the Coalition station, looking down at the peaceful blue world below. Ambassador Taeyang joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," Taeyang said. "Thanks." G1 took the cup and sipped. Real Earth coffee, not the synthesized stuff. "How are the negotiations going?" "Better than expected. The Coalition Council wants to meet with you personally. They're very interested in Earth's military capabilities now." "I bet they are." Jiwon smiled slightly. "Funny how perspective changes when you prove yourself useful. We saved their station and their planet. That buys a lot of goodwill." Commander Hune approached them, looking much better than he had during the battle. His wounds were healing, and he had actually slept for the first time in days. "Captain, Ambassador," he said, "the Coalition has released its official casualty report." "How bad?" Jiwon asked. "Coalition forces lost 46 personnel during the siege. Earth forces lost 12 Marines, 3 pilots, and 4 crew from the Typhoon. Medical is reporting another 32 wounded, but most will return to duty within the week." Taeyang shook his head. 12 dead against hundreds of enemy ships. Any other fleet would have lost hundreds. "Earth trains differently," Hune said simply. "We prepare for the worst because we come from the worst." Lieutenant Yuna walked up, her tablet showing new data. "Captain, Coalition Intelligence just shared something interesting. Crethean communications intercepts. They're calling off raids on all Coalition territories for the next 6 months." "They're scared," Jiwon said. "More than scared. They're terrified. The intercepts mention the Deathworld demons and the species that hunts the hunters. We broke something in them when we won that fight." Down in the medical bay, Dr. Hana was teaching a class for Coalition medical personnel. 50 alien doctors sat in the room, listening intently as she explained human medical treatment. "The key difference," she said, "is that human medicine developed in a combat environment. For thousands of years, we had to treat battlefield injuries with limited resources. We learned to do emergency surgery in terrible conditions. We learned to manage pain and trauma. We learned to save people who should have died." An alien doctor raised a hand. "But Dr. Hana, Coalition medicine is very advanced. We have better technology than Earth." "Technology, yes. Experience, no. Your species have been peaceful for centuries. You treat accidents and illnesses. We treat violence and disaster. Different problems require different solutions." She pulled up images of human wounded from the battle. These Marines fought with broken bones, severe burns, and blood loss. Some Coalition doctors said they should have been unconscious or dead. But they kept fighting because human bodies are built to endure. Dr. Thelvan, who had worked with Hana during the crisis, added his perspective. "I have documented cases of humans functioning with injuries that would kill my species. Their pain tolerance is extraordinary. Their healing rate is faster. Their psychological resilience is remarkable. They are, quite simply, the most durable intelligent species I have encountered." One doctor asked, "Is this something we can replicate? Can other species be trained to survive like humans?" Hana shook her head. This isn't training. It's evolution. Humans evolved on a world that constantly tried to kill them. Our bodies adapted. You can't teach that in a classroom. You have to survive it for millions of years. Across the station, Sergeant Minho was conducting his own class. 50 Coalition security officers watched as he demonstrated hand-to-hand combat techniques. Most of you avoid close combat, he said. You rely on weapons and distance. That's fine for peacekeeping but useless against enemies like the Krethians who specialize in boarding actions. He gestured to Corporal Suman, who still had her arm in a support brace from being shot. Demonstrate. Suman attacked him. Despite her injury, she moved fast and precise. Minho blocked, redirected, and threw her to the mat. She rolled, came up, and tried again. The exchange lasted 30 seconds before Minho called a halt. Notice she never stopped moving, even with an injury. Notice she used my strength against me. Notice she didn't hesitate or hold back. That's how humans fight. One Coalition officer asked, "But Sergeant, the Krethians are much larger and stronger than humans. How can hand-to-hand combat work?" Minho smiled. Humans aren't the strongest species. We're not the fastest either, but we're the most persistent. We evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We learned to fight enemies bigger than us using weapons, tactics, and pure stubbornness. Size doesn't matter if you're smart and refuse to quit. He demonstrated several techniques for fighting larger opponents. The Coalition officers took notes furiously. Many requested additional training sessions. That evening, the Coalition Council held a formal ceremony aboard the station. Representatives from a dozen species gathered in the main hall. Captain Jaiwan, Commander Hyun, Lieutenant Yuna, Sergeant Minho, Dr. Hana, and Ambassador Taeyang stood before them. Commander Velthar, speaking for the Coalition, addressed the crowd. 3 days ago, we faced annihilation. The Krethian swarm had broken our defenses. Our allies were too far away to help. We prepared to die. He turned to the humans. Then Earth answered our call. 3 ships against hundreds. Most species would call that suicide. Humans call it Tuesday. Nervous laughter rippled through the crowd. Earth's forces arrived ahead of schedule, fought against impossible odds, and won decisively. They lost personnel but never lost hope. They took injuries but never stopped fighting. They showed us what it means to be warriors from a death world. Veldar held up a datapad. The Coalition Council has voted unanimously. Earth's status is hereby upgraded from restricted death world species to strategic military partner. You will have full access to Coalition resources, technology, and support. And in return, we hope you will continue to stand with us when darkness comes. Taeyang stepped forward. The people of Earth accept this honor. We will stand with the Coalition. We will protect those who cannot protect themselves. And we will prove that Deathworlders can be the galaxy's greatest defenders, not its greatest threat. The crowd erupted in applause. Humans and aliens alike celebrated the new partnership. After the ceremony, Nari found Commander Hyun in the observation deck. "Commander, I've been compiling reports for the Coalition database. They want a full assessment of human capabilities. What have you concluded? That Earth is the most dangerous ally the Coalition has ever had. You fight like predators. You endure like machines. You refuse to accept defeat. You're terrifying." Hyun looked at her carefully. "Are you afraid of us?" Nari thought for a moment. "No, I'm grateful. Because you're terrifying in our defense, not against us. That makes all the difference." A message came through on the station's communication system. Nari pulled it up and her eyes widened. "Commander Hyun, we're receiving distress calls. 3 Coalition worlds are requesting Earth's military assistance. They've heard what happened here and want human forces to help defend against various threats." Hyun smiled. "Looks like we're popular now. What should I tell them?" "Tell them Earth is reviewing their requests. We'll help where we can." Captain Jiwon received the same information on the Indomitable. He gathered his senior officers. "Looks like this was just the beginning," he said. "The galaxy needs us. 3 worlds want our protection. More will follow." "Can we handle it?" Yuna asked. "Earth has been preparing for this since we joined the Coalition. We knew eventually we'd have to prove ourselves. Now we have, and the whole galaxy is watching. Sergeant Minho grinned. Good. Let them watch. Let them see what Deathworlders can do when we fight for something we believe in. Dr. Hana added, and let them see that we can be healers as well as warriors. Earth doesn't just bring destruction. We bring hope. The meeting ended with new orders being distributed. The Indomitable and its support fleet would head to the nearest world requesting help. More Earth ships were already being dispatched to the other locations. As the human vessels prepared to leave Valara Prime, the Coalition Station's crew gathered to watch. They had fought beside these Deathworlders. They had seen them bleed and die and keep fighting. They had witnessed something special. Ambassador Taiyang stood with Velthar, watching the ships depart. Your people are remarkable, the Valerian said. I apologize again for doubting you. No apology needed. We're used to being underestimated. It gives us an advantage. Will Earth really help protect other Coalition worlds? Yes, because that's what we do. We protect those who need protection. We fight those who need fighting, and we never, ever quit. The Earth ships jumped to slip space, their destination a new world in need. Behind them, they left a grateful station, a saved planet, and a reputation that would echo across the galaxy. Sergeant Minho sat in the Indomitable's ready room with his Marines. They were reviewing tactical data for their next mission. One Marine asked, Sergeant, do you think the Krethians will ever come back? Maybe, Minho said, but next time they'll know what they're up against, and that makes all the difference. Corporal Suman, her shoulder healing fast, added, Let them come. We'll be ready. The Marines agreed. They weren't afraid of the next fight. They were Earth's children, Deathworld survivors, and they carried that strength wherever they went. The galaxy had called for backup. Earth had answered, and nothing would ever be the same again.